Gerad, Neil was just talking about the need to improve your physicality, and obviously against the Virginia Tech defense, it looks like it's very good. How important is that, especially in your run game?
Yeah, I think it's critical, as Coach Brown said. It's and you're playing a good football team, one that's hung their hat on the ability to do that throughout the test of time, and you can see that through their program and see it through their defense. They've done a great job and had a great start. So us being able to compete and match that and hopefully excel at that is going to be important to the football game. So it's something we got to continue to stress and keep taking steps.
Anticipate seeing some of the same fronts you saw at Maryland with what Virginia Tech does?
Sure, yeah, and they're built, in enough way that it sure could come up that way as well, because they're multiple and can play 4 down, 3 down. So we anticipate those things happening, and we've got to handle them better.
Yeah, they're really aggressive up front. I think they lead the ACC and TFLs at this point. Obviously, some of that's trying to match up with them. Some of it's probably play calling, screens, draws. Not to give you a game plan or anything, but how do you kind of deal with a defensive line that's been that good?
Yeah, well, it's anytime you're dealing with guys that are active and do what they've done, they've been very, very successful playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage, whether it's TFLs or sacks. They do a great job moving them. They play well with their hands up front. They know what they're doing. They own their gaps, and they've had success doing it, and that's why. So it's been, you respect watching it. They're wired up well, and the staff's done a good job with them.
To his question, is it one-on-one blocks they're beating? Are they blitzing, or how are they getting this pressure?
Yeah, it's both. It really is, not to avoid the question. It really is, though. They've done a good job with both. They've done a good job not blitzing and defeating blocks, and they've done a good job bringing pressure at times as well. So it's which makes it, all the more balanced to try to attack.
Key to you guys is improving your run game. How do you do that?
Good question. It's everything, as we told the offense, we meet as a staff and talk like, how do you get better, right? Because I think everybody at first, especially young guys, you think, okay, you work all this time from January essentially till now to the start of fall to get better, which is a huge thing for us, like to get better with urgency. And so now it's as if I think some people mistake that the season's here and you just go play. Well, you got to get better each week too. Like we're getting better now and we have to get better each week. So what do we have to get better at, right? You have to locate what those are. Game 1 told us some things that we need to address right now. And us being physical and also which involves not just being tough physical, like meaningful contact, footwork, and all the things that allow you to be physical and successful. So that's the first step, right, is just ensuring our fundamentals to get better each day at the things that allow you to play physical and play well. So I think that's the key for us to take the step. And then if we own that, then the other things start to pair up and you can match those together.
Lenny Brown obviously was so good for you last year. Did you see this coming, I guess? Were you concerned at all privately that, it might take a while to get the running game to the level it was at last year, or
Sure. No, I don't think so. I don't think it was necessarily something you saw coming. It's just, it's something we're going to have to earn the right to do, because now there certainly isn't a secret. Letty is our running back and is a great player, and we've got to make sure we honor that with how we find ways to give him room. And then, of course, Letty's got to own his part and making sure when we get that room, we get there. And so I don't know if it's necessarily something that you see coming besides the fact to know that people know now, and in order to be really good now, you got to be good when everybody knows that it's a huge piece of our plan is to find ways to put him in our game plan and find success and find yards for him.
How many challenges their secondary present? Is there any sort of comparison to what you saw in the opening game, a lot of man coverage from Maryland? Yeah,
so they'll, especially into the boundary, very physical and talented. They've got good players in the back end that match you well. They undercut routes really well. They're wired up to the field in their coverages and different spins. So they've got a lot of things. It's been a long-lasting there's a lot of things you recognize. I hate to admit that I'm getting old now, but, from starting at Marshall in 11 and 12 all the way through going now to Purdue and Penn State and here with almost and Duke, almost all those stops except for maybe one, we've found a way to play them. And from Bud Foster's days all the way till now, there's a lot of similarities about some coverages and things that you see and you notice, and it's hence the reason that they've sustained success on defense and done the part that we're trying to prepare for. So to answer your question in full, I think do a really good job matching routes. They spin well, they communicate well, they're physical, they run to the football, they do everything that it takes to be a good defense in the back end.
Kind of threw a little curve there a little while ago when you said being physical. There's more to it than just being physical. Can you expand on that a little bit about what being physical really is? Yeah,
because you know at first I think you hear the word or you're trying to develop a more physical approach. Well, anybody, it's like when my dad, when I was young, go play hard, son. Well, I took that as just on a basketball court, just go run and jump after the ball, play all over the floor, make sure I had stuff on my elbows and everything, and I played hard, but it was a little bit meaningless effort. You know what I mean? Like you want to play hard, you want to be physical, but it's got to have purpose. So, you know, what I mean is like there's a lot of things that go into playing well, playing hard. And that's not only playing physical, but it's playing with great pad level. It's trusting your footwork and your fundamentals. And that's the things that we got to do. We got to do it with purpose. And our guys are owning that. You know, we're in a good place of owning that process. They know what this game is. They know we've got to take steps each week to play winning football.
What jumped out at you on tape from watching that North Carolina game?
Well, certainly the energy of the game. You could feel that just turn on the tape with no volume. You know, the energy of the game and just starting a year, the fans and how they supported it there. You could feel that energy through the tape. And then you could definitely see some things that they certainly took a step on in their off season from watching, because all you had really before that point was to watch last year's stuff and then move to this year. So it was a very respectful thing to see, okay, here's the things they've gotten better at. Here's the things they're doing, and just see their energy run around and chasing the football and executing their game plan. You could tell that as soon as you turned the tape on.
Your assessment of your quarterback play from Gerad through 2 games?
Yeah, it took. You know, we talked a lot about it in game 1 on the routine plays and taking out bad plays, which is critical at that position. So he took those steps in game 2. Hard sometimes to evaluate that at times too with how the game kind of developed. But he's owning those steps and knows what we've got to do to make routine plays in his pocket presence, which is something he's going to continue to work on to make sure we make decisions in the pocket. So taking steps, and that's a weekly thing. You know, it's such a volatile position, and you're at the point of contact always at that position. So it is a grind each week.
Is there any insight or intel Doug Nestor can give you this week? He was there the last 2 days.
Well, he knows the program far better than any of us, right? But I'm sure there's things that he can mention about the program and those things. But otherwise, we're going to let him line up with us and go play ball. But I'm sure there's things he knows about personnel and those guys, and still close and friends with a lot of them too, as I understand it. So there's things that can help from personnel, but otherwise, we just got to execute our game plan and go.
Gerad, this is purely observational, and shoot it down if you want to, but that's a hard position to play with 2 hands, and he's playing with 1. How is that affecting him at all?
Yeah, I mean, it would not be fair to Doug to say that that's not hard. You know, you're essentially playing with 1 hand because he's not able to use it at all in the way that you would normally with being able to use hands and be able to grab cloth and fit and those things. So it's been a challenge for him. But to his defense, you haven't heard anything from him. You know, he's came to work every day and got it done, and understands that the opposition is probably not going to factor that in and how they attack him. So he's got to find a way to find success. We've got to keep finding ways with his feet to put him in great position so it doesn't become a negative for him.
How much will O'Loughlin's eventual return help your run game and just your offense in general?
Yeah, as he progresses in those things, it'll help. You know, as I've stated, I think last week, anytime that you get a starter back in your lineup and those things, and he is our starter at tight end, it sure will be a factor.
They play a lot of games in the secondary, multiple coverages. We see some of that.
I'm sorry?
Do they play a lot of games in their secondary, multiple coverages? They do a lot of different things?
Yeah, it's enough to look at. You know, there's a lot of, and it's all wired up and well put together, but there's enough in the back end to keep you thinking, guessing, and not certainly taking a picture to say this is what it'll be. That's one of the finer things they do.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
Thank you all.